Hi, and welcome to Worship Week. This is our fourth interview of the week. I am Kate Brannon Smith. I am the Content Strategy Manager here at Switcher Studio, and I am joined by Switcher user extraordinaire Jason Arcega of Barrow Community Church in Auburn, Georgia. Welcome, Jason.
How you doing?
Thank you so much for joining us. I will go ahead and let you guys know, if you couldn't hear us during the countdown, that we're dealing with a thunderstorm here in Louisville that is causing some internet struggles. So if we pause for a minute, just bear with us. We will get back on. And before we begin, I wanted to let you guys know. Oh, there's Dan.
Yeah.
Hi,
Hey,
Dan.
I'm just gonna say I'm gonna do my best to keep things up the whole time. But yeah, we're dealing with some internet issues here at our office, but we'll pull through it.
Yeah.
Yes, proof that it happens to the best of us. I wanted to let you guys know about a new Facebook group that we are starting called Switcher Studio 101, which is specifically geared at new Switcher users and all of the questions that you may come up with as you're just getting started. There's another Facebook group called Switcher Studio Enthusiasts that has such a great community. But if you're new and you're dealing with all these preliminary questions, you may feel a little overwhelmed by the more technical side of things that gets talked about in that Facebook group. So we have created this group specifically for you. We're going to have it manned by Switcher experts to answer all the questions that you encounter. So I'll talk about that a little bit more at the end. But for now, let's get to the interview. So I'm going to introduce Jason, and then we'll go through some questions, talk about his live streaming experience. But along the way, please leave your questions in the comments, questions for Jason, and we'll do a Q&A at the end because he has been through all this. He understands what it's like to figure out live streaming for his church. So please let him know if you have questions, and we'll cover those at the end. So as I said, Jason is a volunteer with Barrow Community Church in Auburn, Georgia, and he also worked in full-time ministry all over the country, Michigan, Ohio, Washington, Georgia. So you've really hit most of those corners. He's been with churches of all sizes and various denominations, and he's done youth pastoring, led worship teams, taught music. As you can probably see from all the guitars behind him, he's a big music guy. He plays the piano at his church as well. And he actually has a bachelor's in music ed and toured for 3 years full time all across the country. And all of this experience in ministry has helped him learn both what the church needs from staff and what staff needs from church leadership, which has made him uniquely qualified to help connect churches with the tools that let them accomplish their mission. So right now he's doing this by building apps for churches and other organizations with the company Interactive Life, which he'll talk about a little bit later, which fits right in with his passion of helping churches reach the new digital mission field, which also fits right in with worship live streaming, which is what we're going to talk about today. So Jason, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is such a privilege. Appreciate it.
Can you tell us a little bit about your church and when and why you decided to start live streaming?
So Barrow Community Church is a really unique situation. It's a tiny, tiny country church out in the middle of nowhere. Like there's not a lot of population there. And so it was getting ready to close down. And they went from 270 down to an attendance of, you don't count, the worship team and the people that had to be there, to about 20. And so we were just clinging for dear life. Wow. And they thought they'd give it one more shot, brought in a new pastor, and she was there just for a few weeks, and boom, the pandemic hits and the church is closed. It's like, what do we do now? And so it just so happened that I had already built the church an app. And so now I just said to the pastor, hey, let's go ahead and reach out to the congregation through the app and get online, get streaming, get going on this. And because we don't have a choice now, because no one can come. So here we were clinging to life. We started filming. I got Switcher so that editing would be a lot easier, and that made things a whole lot faster. We started streaming. It's a church of a lot of senior citizens. So were a little worried about the, would they plug in? Would they be able to,
Mhm.
watch, and would they be technically capable? And what was surprising and amazing was it was the seniors that came out to help during the filming.
Wow.
So they volunteered. So our volunteer crew was all these seniors manning cameras and helping with the audio, and it was a lot of fun. So while we were filming and locked down, no one could come. A lot of really cool things started happening. Uh, Very surprising. This church of about 20 people was getting views of over 600.
Wow.
So we knew that was more than the regulars that
Mhm.
come. And then what really solidified it was giving went up, and you knew something was really happening when people were willing to support this,
Yeah.
not even be able to come. And so it was absolutely crucial that the streaming went well, that the content was good, and the way to interact with people through digital ministry was a crucial part of being able to connect with your congregation, because we didn't have a choice. But in the end, that's a good thing. So.
Yeah, definitely. That's pretty remarkable. I mean, a lot of churches have had to rapidly adopt live streaming since the shutdowns. But to do it not only when the church itself has been kind of struggling with size, and then when you're trying to reach an older audience, it gives you some interesting challenges that you're up against. So it's really remarkable to hear how well that's worked out for you guys.
Oh,
So I'm curious, based on your background in digital ministry, you have some key tenets of a successful digital ministry. Can you tell us about those?
yeah. So I kind of fell into digital ministry back in 2014 when nobody was really doing it regularly. And so I got in with an app company called Interactive Life. And we were building apps for churches and schools and businesses. And we'd approach a church and, hey, you guys need an app. And that way you can reach people beyond your walls. And they're like, why do we need an app? I don't get it. But now people get it. Now people understand that part. And so now they're just catching up and struggling to figure out, how do you connect with your audience beyond just playing the video,
Mm-hmm.
just simply Facebook live streaming. Because the church has had, ever since television, the church has been on TV for a long time, but it was always really just kind of one-way information. And so now the major part was to be interactive.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the key element in any ministry, period, but especially for digital ministry. You have to find a way to make this interactive, because otherwise people are just, they might as well tune in and watch the better productions and the better
Mm-hmm.
shows, the better services. This way, they feel like they're connecting to the staff, to the pastor, to the message, and sensing they're getting ministered to. So the first thing, I drew up a list of 10 ways to do
Yeah,
this.
Dan, can you share that?
Of course.
Thank you.
And the first way we started doing it was, first we got an app, and that way the app allowed us to do some really special things. So we could watch the stream, and later on there's some video of that, where you could watch a stream, but not just watch the stream, also interact with what was going on. So you could chat at the same time, you could take your notes at the same time, you could give and take prayer requests, give online, you could answer polling questions, we could set out some questionnaires, we could follow up with people, we could integrate the children's lessons, all those kinds of things. Share testimonials, sign up, register, take attendance, and replace all the connection cards with digital connection cards. And so the church suddenly was able to do some of those things that you normally did anyway live, and we were able to do it through the app. So that was the first key thing, and that kind of helped keep things together. The other one is, number two was the thing we did was we did a drive-through prayer vigil. So
I
it's pretty.
saw that on your Facebook page. What
Yeah. There's video of that, and you can see it on the Facebook page for Barrow Community Church. the church members just went ahead and decorated crosses, and they were really cool. Everything, children participated, and adults, and some very artistic people as well. And so you could go through through the parking lot and visit each of the crosses, and then there would be some visible prompts to what to pray for, suggestions what to pray for, and stuff. And we had people nowhere connected to the church seeing this, pulling over, going through, UPS drivers. It was all sorts of fun things to see who would come and visit and just drive through and start praying. And if there was something that the church needed as a whole needed to do, was be prompted and moved to pray during this pandemic. So that was a huge thing. Finding those ways that people can interact even if they can't come into the building. The other thing was number 3, stream all events. So weddings, funerals, youth nights, worship nights, Zoom meetings, fun and solemn events. We had a funeral that for our worship drummer passed away, and it ended up, we had over 2,500 views of that funeral service, and it was this beautiful thing we were able to share with people who could not possibly be there because there was a lot of family in Puerto Rico and everything like that. So some great ways to do that. Number 4 was stream thoughts of the day. And I know a lot of churches do this, where the pastor will get on, on a Monday or whatever, and just share a 1 or 2 minute devotional. And there's some powerful ways to connect, because it's something short and bite-sized, where it can be an encouragement to people, where they don't feel like, oh, I got to sit through this whole sermon. But 1 or 2 minute thought. Number 5, I can't stress this enough. Focus on Jesus and don't get political, because once you get political, immediately you're gonna alienate over half your audience. Yeah. So the focus needs to be on Jesus alone, and that's how I feel. But number 6, keep all avenues of digital outreach up to date, and I can't stress it enough. I can't tell you how many websites I've gotten onto, church websites, and it's like it's the same staff. It's everything's out of date. It's painful to see. The graphics are old. Pictures are extremely dated. Yeah. Calendar events list something from 2 years ago, and so if you don't care enough to update things, why should they care? And so now it's especially important, because people are looking specifically for a place to plug into, and they have to do it digitally. Let's see. Number 7, report back on events. This is something we forget too. So, like the youth will go on this great missions trip and everything like that, and we raise money for it and all that stuff, and then you never hear anything about it. And so churches need to broadcast their successes as well.
Yeah.
Hey, this happened, and this many people came out, or we did a little fundraiser, and this one happened, or we supported some students, some teachers, some whatever event you had, and people want to hear about that afterwards, because they may never have gone to the event, but they want to know what happened and go, wow, there's something really happening. I want to plug into this place. Let's see. Number 8, share people's stories, and that's probably one of the most powerful things you can do, is to go into the congregation, go, hey, tell us what God has been doing in your life lately. Yeah. And you'd be amazed the stories people will share with you, how God has moved them, and then that just inspires others. And it's a very powerful way, because it's extremely authentic, extremely genuine. We get to do this through the app. They can even do it, share a video, or just type it out or whatever. Oh, cool. And everyone can view it, and so we've had some fun with that. Let's see, number 9 was always have the digital audience in mind. So a lot of pastors, they'll get the app, or they know they're streaming, but then they totally ignore the fact that people are streaming, and there's probably more people watching the stream than there are in the audience at that moment. And so it's really important to go to acknowledge them. So especially the pastor, when he's up there, hey, everybody who's watching, on Facebook land or whatever. We want to welcome you. We want to recognize you. We want to interact with you. And then to have, the key thing is to have not just the Facebook live stream, but have someone on staff or somebody volunteered who can minister, be that online pastor at that moment. And go, hey, I'm here to take prayer requests. We're glad you guys are all on Facebook live streaming or on the app. And is there something you can share, or you can private message me, or whatever. And that way you're still interacting, you're still connecting, you're still finding a way to minister to people's needs, because they are hurting out there and they may just share it. And these might be people who have nothing to do. They're maybe thousands of miles away from your church, but there's somebody who cares. And then finally, number 10, really genuinely, authentically care about your audience. And people can tell. People can tell when it's fake. It's like, hey, and they just try to be so slick, as opposed to really caring about them. And the number one way I think you do that is to simply be first. Be the first one to reach out to them. Don't go, well, nobody told me there was a prayer request. Nobody told me there was a need. Nobody told me. And that's usually the excuse for church staff, having been on church staff for like 27 years. It's the first excuse, nobody told me. And it's like, no, be proactive. And so one of the things, shout out to Dorothy Harden from our church. She's the prayer and care pastor. She went out and called everybody and just said, hey, is there a prayer need, concern? I can pray for you right now. And it was amazing. People cared, knew that they were cared for. But that takes being first. That takes being proactive in doing that. And so that's what I love about our church, is that we're like thinking that through and going, how can we let them know we care? What next thing can we do to show people? Because we know we can't have them at our church. They're not even allowing us to have more than 50 people in the building. And then in particular, this Sunday, we got shut down again because somebody had COVID a couple of weeks ago. So we're like, oh, now we're automatic quarantine. So we'll still broadcast live, but on Switcher, but we have to have nobody else in the building. So anyway, so there's some top 10 tips for you.
Well, those are so awesome. So help. I'm hearing. I hope you guys are not getting an echo all of a sudden. Stop me if so. But I feel like those are applicable during non-pandemic times, but during the pandemic, it's even more important when we don't have as much of that in-person, face-to-face community. The church doesn't just stop, we've got to find the ways to keep providing community to each other and being there for each other. And I think those are great tips that clearly show all the experience that you've had in this area. So speaking of digital ministry, I believe we also have a clip of the app that you guys use. And if you want to talk a little bit about that, and then Dan could roll the clip, and that will give everybody a look at what exactly you're talking about when you're talking about having the church use an app.
Yeah, so real quick, just to set this up real quick, I was supposed to speak just before the pandemic hit. I was supposed to speak at a ministry conference about digital ministry of all things, and it just so happened that everything got shut down out in the Seattle area, and so I wasn't able to go. So instead, I put together this video, and this is just a short clip, part of it, just explaining a little bit of how we can deal with digital ministry and in times of crisis. So go ahead and run it, Dave.
Just this past Sunday, our church leadership gathered to work out exactly how we would continue to minister to everyone. Thankfully, we were actually ready for this crisis. By using our app and the tools that are out there, we will be able to go far beyond posting a video of the pastor preaching on the church website. We can actually interact with everyone, no matter where they are, pray with them, answer questions, lead them in worship, provide resources, gather the youth group virtually, minister to needs, share with each other what God has done, and so much more.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll
So
say this is
yeah,
definitely something that'd be great to talk about is the app. We've gotten a couple comments with people asking about how you created an app and how they could possibly do it themselves.
okay, yeah, absolutely. So you want me to answer that right now?
Yeah, let's go ahead and take them now. If you want to
Okay,
throw them up there, Dan, we can see them.
cool.
Oh yeah, it was basically just yeah, how can I get my church an app? Jason, let's get in touch afterwards so we
Yeah,
can I can
absolutely.
learn how to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So feel free to email me. It's just jasonarcega@gmail.com. It would be the fastest way. And just my first and last name at gmail.com. And I can get you set up. So basically what this is with Interactive Life, we created not just an app, but an app system where you're able to actually build the app. So just like PowerPoints are made for you to build your own PowerPoint, we actually built the system for you to be able to simply drag and drop text and graphics, and you don't have to know a lick of programming. I don't know a lick of programming. My sons are the computer programmers that do that full time for a living. But here, you don't have to know much to be able to all of a sudden build your own app for the church. So happy to help you out with that. It ranges in prices and features and stuff like that, but very powerful tool in ministering for people. And then you're also able to, what I love, I just heard about this. One of the churches I've been working with, heard about, they went ahead during the pandemic and bought tablets for their elderly people who did not have anything to
Oh,
watch
wow.
the stream on. So that's the same thing. The tablets are Android tablets are super cheap. You can go ahead and actually purchase some for the very few elderly people who are not able, and then they just set it up so it was a one button thing, and boom, they could watch the stream, and they could watch you could do the same thing with the app. And so some powerful ways to do it without a lot of money, and it's very effective. So
Nice. Yeah, I can speak from experience on that too. Our church has an app, and every Friday night I get the little push notification saying that the bulletin is ready for Sunday. So I already know,
yep.
what they're going to sing and what they're going to speak on, and it is very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and so use that tool. It's important to go beyond just Facebook streaming, because while the chat feature is nice, it's sometimes it's a little too public, or B, um, there's no way to get deeper interaction beyond just like it's like texting. You
Mm-hmm.
need something more than that, and sometimes you need that face to face. Zoom, Skype, that's a great way of doing that too.
Yeah, and I think the example of the person in your church calling people on the phone is also a really good one, because I feel like phones are so out of style right now, but to get a phone call from somebody who's just checking in on you can be really meaningful.
It's very powerful, especially when people are so used to that once removed idea of, we text because we actually don't want to see people face to face, or we don't want to hear them. But then when you do get that phone call, it's like, wow, somebody cares about me. Somebody actually is listening to me. And people are so isolated right now. People are depressed. People are hurting. And they may not share that on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
they're going to share that with somebody who they feel like, oh, I can trust this person. And that's the key thing, is like building that trust, and continually finding ways to minister to a need. And you gotta dig sometimes to
Mm-hmm.
find out what those needs are.
Yeah, that's definitely true. So I'm curious, you guys briefly went back to in-person services before coronavirus made an appearance at your church.
Yeah.
I'm curious, during the in-between time when you were having in-person services and also live streaming the service, what did you have to do differently?
Okay, so hats off to my senior pastor, Beth Dickinson. She was willing to just roll with the punches and find ways. So no matter what got thrown at her, it's like, okay, we're got to shut down. Okay, now we're open. Now we're shut down again. Now we're open. And so we just found ways to go, okay, we know it's important. We're live now for this week. And that was just a few weeks ago. Let's go ahead and keep the tripods in place. We went left, right, and center, and one on the stage, just to give us an interesting view. And then we went ahead and because you're social distancing anyway, and there's space for the tripods to be there. That's the number one thing. I see a lot of those posts on the Facebook enthusiast, switcher enthusiast page that people are like, what do you do? What do you do to get the tripod out of the way? But you're distancing anyway, so nobody cares that the tripod's there because they can't sit so close together anyway. So there we are. If you walked in now, you would see the tripods in place, and nobody cares and nobody's complaining about those. So we run the service like we would live, and just go ahead, and we have our little 16-year-old pastor's son, Jake, just running the switcher back there, and some of our seniors manning the cameras, so we get good shots and stuff. So
that's awesome.
It's been fun, and it's been a kind of a bringing together time, to, hey, how can we overcome this adversity?
Yeah, for sure.
If I can really quick ask, Jason, people are asking to put your email on screen. Are you okay if I do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Just really simple. Jason Arcega.
Double check to make sure that's right, but I believe that's it.
No. I just keep it that way and not even bother with my business one because it's so much easier to remember. All right.
So I'm curious, one of the things you mentioned early on was that giving had actually gone up during this time. And I know a lot of churches are trying to figure out digital giving, and giving can often be a concern, but during a pandemic, it's definitely a concern. So what best practices do you have to share about how you guys have handled online giving?
Number one, you got to make it easy. So multiple ways to give. And we mentioned that, and you can even mail a check if you want to, but obviously you can give on the app, you can give on the website, you can give, you can just mail in a check. But the number two thing, and this is the thing pastors forget or they're embarrassed about, but to actually present a need. People will rise up. Whenever somebody sets up a GoFundMe and people are like, oh, this kid is hurting, he's in the hospital, let's send him some money, because they set out, this is my need. Yeah. And when the pastor is unafraid to go, look, church, body, this is our need. We need you to give. There's no shame in that. And so our giving went up because people recognize, whoa, we don't have that many people. Our building's going to close if we don't pay the mortgage. So people rose up and gave, and it's just a beautiful thing to see. And we gave them, something to watch, and they knew that, hey, church was still happening. So it's not just closed and nothing's going on. So.
Yeah. And that's really the coming togetherness that you're talking about too. Even though people can't be physically together, there is an aspect of giving that is still a coming together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and our next set of our call that just went out today was, hey, students are coming back to school, and they're coming back on, digitally. A lot of them are. It's not even hybrid. They're just at home and they have to spend it. But people still need school supplies. So we're going to be raising up school supplies and handing that out to students, but also to help the teachers as well, and help teachers with supplies and stuff like that. Trying to dig through and find those needs and give opportunities for your people to give. Inspire them to give is the big thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm curious, do we have any I guess just cues. Do we have any cues in the comments, Dan?
I tell you what, we've kind of been answering them as we went. Yeah, you guys are doing great. Or we're either taking them as they come in and answering them, or people are asking the question and then you're answering before I can even have a chance to ask the question. So
nice. Virtual high five, Wi-Fi, I've heard it called. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great to have you.
Yes, well, thank you. It's truly a privilege, and hope to connect with people. I'm wide open to just sharing thoughts of ways to help, and if I can be of any help to anybody out there, please feel free. Don't hesitate to email me, and I'm happy to talk with you, and we're even happy to pray with you. So, all right.
Thank you so much. Yes, guys, take advantage of that. Reach out to Jason. I'll also remind you about the Switcher 101 Facebook group that I mentioned at the beginning of this stream. It's specifically for people who are new to Switcher. It's specifically for those questions that you run into early on. We want to get you the help that you need. We want to get you the easy answers to get you on your way with live streaming. So please join us there at the URL below. And we'll see you guys tomorrow for another Worship Week live stream.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.